Hi, I'm Jared Milrad,
And I'm Nathan Johnson,
and I'm 31 years old,
and I'm 30.
and we both live in Long Beach, California. I grew up in New York City, and Nate grew up in,
Potterville, Michigan.
yep, and we wanted to talk about our coming out stories today, and a little bit about our relationship and how we view the LGBT community and encouraging folks to come out in the LGBT community. So, first of all, I came out when I was 23 years old. My mom actually sat me down when I was about 22, and I graduated from college. And she encouraged me to come out because she had read a journal entry that I wrote where I was questioning my own sexuality during college. So I came out when I was 23 and started telling my friends, my close friends and family. Um, Nate, when did you come out?
I came out at about the age of 19. I was a sophomore in college. I had questions for a while about who I was and what was my truth, and it finally just sort of kind of came together, and I got to a point where I had to tell people, and I had to tell everyone. So I did it at the age of 19. I told all of my friends and family, and basically just went through it. It was tough, but it was good.
Yeah, and I think for both of us, obviously, we felt happier since we've come out for the most part. I'd say for me, definitely, I had times where I was very depressed, particularly prior to coming out. During the process of coming out, when I was about 22, 23, just because I didn't really have many friends and didn't have any gay friends at the time, so it was difficult, especially living. I was living in a rural part of Massachusetts, so I didn't really have a lot of people that I could talk to about my own sexuality. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about family and friends and society and work and how it all plays into the process of coming out and in our lives. So I've been fortunate that my mother is very, very accepting, as was my father. My father assumed I was straight, and so I remember when I told him I was gay when I was 23, I said, "Dad, I'm dating guys," and he said, "You're dating guides?" And I said, "Dad, no, I'm not dating park rangers or anything like that." So it was kind of a funny little thing. And he said, "Well, whatever suits your fancy." So he ultimately supported me fully and loved Nate, as did my mom and my brother. What was your experience?
So I came out when I was 19, like I said. I had a rough experience probably for the first year, where it was actually my friends were very supportive. They helped me through a lot of tough times. My parents had a little bit of a tougher time with it. I think they were just worried about my safety, about my health, about my future, about what would happen to me because of the AIDS crisis, because of stereotypes against gay people, because of discrimination. They were very scared, and they weren't sure exactly what my life would be like because of that. So it took a long process, I think, for a year where we really had to feel each other out and open up and share our feelings, and eventually come to the point that we knew that we loved each other. My parents loved me to death, and I loved them to death. And that overcame everything. We knew that as long as we loved each other and that we wanted to continue being a family, that we would work through it, and that they just wanted to see me be happy, and I wanted to see them be happy. So even though it was a struggle at first, even though there was a lot of questions about religion, that played a role in it, what my future would be, um, love really won out. I mean, still wanted me as their son, and I still wanted them as my parents. So, regardless of the maybe brief fights that we had, or tears that were shed, as long as love is there, it will really come through and win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a similar experience, particularly with my dad, who assumed that I was straight, and so it was a process for him where he actually had to call my mom. And my parents have been divorced for now 20 years or more, so luckily they stayed friends, and he was able to reach out to her, and she had obviously known about my sexuality, about my own struggles with my sexuality. And so, fortunately, he had an open mind about it and learned and understood that I could still have children if I wanted to. I could still live a happy, quite normal and boring life if I wanted to. And so that was, I think, meaningful for him. And he ultimately came around and supported me, as did, fortunately, most of my friends, particularly my good friends who I was nervous about, but really, came around, as Nate said, to show that love really does win, if you, particularly those that really, really care about you.
So there's a question here. It says, "Did you ever feel like you were being judged?" And that answer is absolutely. At first, you do. You feel that everyone's judging you. The society's judging you. That friends are judging you. Family. I mean, for almost everyone that is struggling with coming out, it's really a scared sort of time where you're not sure if people will still love you, if they'll still accept you. But you get to the point where once you start telling certain people, especially people that you care about, and you realize that they still love you and that they don't judge you, then you feel more comfortable with yourself. In the words of the wise RuPaul, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else? So you start to love yourself, and you realize that you love other people still, they love you, and you don't care about those people that might not necessarily care, or they might judge you still. You realize that those aren't your friends, your true friends to begin with. So ultimately, the judgment part starts to fade away, and you start to care less and less about necessarily what those people that might judge you, what they care, what they feel like.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like definitely early on it was tough, right? I mean, there were times I think a lot of young gay folks go through this, or anyone in the LGBT community goes through this, or anyone who's even questioning their sexuality, where you feel like people are staring at you, when you show PDA and you show public affection, or you feel like everyone's watching you in a sense. Like I remember feeling just really uncomfortable early on, particularly when I was dating someone, and would people make assumptions about me? What would they think about me? And trying to hide at times like my sexuality without, when people would say like, "Oh, are you dating anyone?" and kind of didn't want to say, "Oh yeah, I have a boyfriend." And so I think, as Nate said, once you start to become more comfortable with yourself, and you start to accept yourself, and you have friends around you and family around you who support you, hopefully over time, that really makes a huge difference. So
And I don't care to show affection to you now. So.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't show any affection, so it's really hard. We're married now and haven't held hands in years. So anyway, being in love, I guess we could talk a little bit about that. Have we ever experienced love? I don't know.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Yeah.
Over the past 6 years.
We do have a partner at the moment. We're married as of July 19th. So a little bit over, I guess, 2 months now. Still together, and that's good. So I guess we have experienced love. We met over 7 years ago, about 7 years ago, in Boston. I think hit it off pretty quickly, and had dated other people in the past, and had our share of other relationships, but for some reason we just stuck around each other.
Yeah. And just to go on to that, the same-sex marriage being legal in all 50 states. It's amazing, I mean, it was piecemeal for a while, right? Like, we had some states allowing gay marriage, and so, those states, you felt great. You could get married, everything was great, life went on, but there were still states like my home state of Michigan, like states in the South like Alabama, Kentucky, where you still couldn't get married. So, it didn't really feel whole we didn't really feel like a whole country still, even though certain, parts of the country had it. I felt really good when we got married. Luckily, when we got married, it was already legalized in all 50 states. The Supreme Court ruling went through, so I knew that when we got married, there were other couples in all states across the U.S. getting married legally as well, barring some exceptions in certain counties. But for the most part, it was happening, and I felt great. I felt really special. I know.
Yeah, and I think it is a step in the right direction for the LGBTQ community. I think for us, it means a lot to be married, to have that legal recognition, and also recognition by our friends and our families that we are equal, and we're just like any other married couple in the country and the world, frankly, who just wants to live a open, happy life together. So I think it is an important step for the community. Obviously, it's marriage is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to get married or should get married, frankly. Obviously, you need to find someone that you really want to spend your life with and that you really, really love. But for those who want to have that right and that option, I think it's definitely a good step in the right direction.
So this last part, I guess, is our message, and I guess we should wrap this up. So
yeah.
My message is that things do get better, and then they get worse, and then they get better, and then they get worse. But then gradually they get ultimately better in the end. It is a little bit of a roller coaster at first. You tell people, you feel relieved, it's great, it's a great feeling. but then maybe you have one bad reaction, or you just have a day where you just don't feel like telling people, or you don't feel like having to share this really personal truth with people all the time. So there's days where it doesn't get better, but ultimately it does get better overall. I'm a testament to that. If I would have not been true to myself, I would have been miserable. I know I would have. I would have had a much different life, and I wouldn't have been this happy. So it does get better. That's all I would say.
I feel the same way, yeah. And you have to, it's just like almost anything in life, you have to persevere, right? You have to really stick with your own identity to an extent, and your own exploration of your identity, I would say. You have to really fight that fight to figure out who you are, who you love, what you want to be, what you want to do in life, what your passions are, those things. But when it comes to your sexuality, it is a personal journey that you have to just keep on, marching through and fighting through. Because ultimately, as Nate said, you're gonna come to a place where you're happier. If not every day, it's not gonna be all rosy all the time. There's still gonna be life challenges. But if you can accept who you are and at least be able to express that openly, you're gonna just feel like such a happier, just healthier person overall. So we have faith, we have hope. I think some days we're kind of miserable with each other, but for the most part, we're I think hanging in there.
Yeah, I think overall it's worth it.
Yeah. So thanks so much for listening. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.